Hello, my name is William Shelton.
And I'm Elise Estep, and we are here to show you our web mapping project for our 514 Advanced GIS class for our BYU class. Here you can see the Tethys portal. Our application was built through this. So if you click on My First App, it will take you to our home page, which contains some very sparse information about the Constitution with a lovely picture. And you can see in the bottom right corner there's a Go to Map button. That was the point of this exercise, was to build an interactive map. So if you follow it, you can see our page here, which will be explained to you by William.
As you can see on our map, we have several shape files. We have a line shape file, which represents the Delaware River. We have a polygon shape file, which represents 13 colonies, as well as a few others that represent Philadelphia and Boston, which you can't see because they're so small. And we've got several point shape files, and as the map loads, we have a few more shape files out here. So the purpose of this project was to be able to create these shape files on ArcGIS and then export them into a KML, which we were then able to place into our map and edit these KML files so that we can show information on each of these shape files through pop-ups. But before we show the pop-ups working in action, we'll take a look at some of the features that we've included in this map above. Up above, we've included checkboxes which allow the user to select certain points or shape files that they're interested in viewing. If we click the None, you can see that all the shape files clear from our map. It's just like a blank base map. But then we can then click on shape files we're interested in viewing. We can have one, we can select it, you can deselect it, you can select multiple, you can deselect the multiple, and you can just decide to view whichever ones you wish. Also, since some of the shape files might be hard to see, such as Boston and Philadelphia, we've added the Zoom to Layer function, which allows us to zoom into layers. So we'll turn on the Boston, Philadelphia, and the end of the Revolutionary War to show this example. So if we click on Boston, the base map will zoom into the city of Boston. If we click on Philadelphia, it will zoom to Philadelphia. And if we click on end of the Revolutionary War, you can see our two point shape files that have information pertaining to the end of the Revolutionary War. In one, we have the Siege of Yorktown, which was the last battle in the Revolutionary War, and the Treaty of Paris, which was the official treaty that ended the war. As you can see here, these pop-ups also contain hyperlinks, which allows the user to look at additional information pertaining to the event. So for the Treaty of Paris, we can open up this hyperlink, and it brings you to a Wikipedia page that talks about the Treaty of Paris. To look at some of our other shape files, we'll look at the Delaware River, the Shays Rebellion, cities where there were military action in Shays Rebellion, and Shays Rebellion courthouses, or the courthouses that were shut down during the Shays Rebellion, and of course the signing of the Constitution. So if we zoom into these layers here, as you can see, you can click on Shays Rebellion. In this example, it's the town of Springfield, which was the very first battle that happened in Shays Rebellion as rebels tried to take over the Springfield Armory. If we look at the courthouses, we get sort of the same thing. We have a hyperlink that leads us to a Wikipedia page. We can look here at Philadelphia, the signing of the Constitution, with a picture, and some text as well that you can read, and a hyperlink to more information, and the Delaware River, which has the same thing. Another thing to note is that we've included links to our user guide and technical documentation, which we will shortly upload once those have been written. Now, to show you guys how these pop-up bubbles work and to show how we get the information there, we'll take a look at the KMLs that we've made for these. We'll look at an example here for the end of the Revolution. In this example, we are looking at the Battle of Yorktown. In this one, these TRs represent table rows, these TDs represent column within that row. first TR we have this event, which we've labeled in another row as the Siege of Yorktown. This event has a color associated with it, that's why you saw it in blue. We have our date written here, and right here is the link to our image, which is in the same file as our KML. Down below, we've also edited the Treaty of Paris. As you can see here, this is the link to the Wikipedia webpage. So that's how you would go about writing the code to put a link in those pop-ups. And the final thing, if you notice on the map, there was a specific icon that represented the end of the Revolutionary War, and that is referenced here in our code using the icon tag and referencing the PNG file, which is also saved in the same folder as the KML files are. I'll now turn the time over to Elise to discuss a little bit more of the code.
Here is the HTML for our homepage. You can see we have the list where we listed the user guides and technical documentation. Right now they're just linked to our BYU homepage because we haven't written them yet, but that will be changed shortly. And then below we have the title, some headers and paragraphs, and we create a space here for our image of the Constitution. And this is the code that creates the Go to the Map button. And these curly brackets are the template extenders provided by the Tethys app that loads in the sides and the top. And we didn't touch that. And then here on our map page, we have the title again, we have the scripts. These ones were written by other people, such as the OpenLayers script for the map as first. The script that we wrote that creates our functions is this last script here. We load some of it in here when we load the page, which we'll go over that function in a minute. And then we have more headers again. And we have here our first form. This is all of the checkboxes that you saw. And they are identified in the code later by their ID for their value. And then down below that, this is our form for our drop down. And again, we just identify them later by value for when we're using our functions. And then this line creates the space for our map and our pop-ups. So here is the meat of our project. It's the JavaScript, just called main. And here at the top we've defined some global variables. And our first function in this file is the function to check when the checkboxes are changed. So they're identified by the input tag. If you go to the home page, or the map page, excuse me, and look on this form with the checkboxes, they're all identified by input. So back here in our script, if it's checked, then we have two special cases. So if it's all, then they're all turned on except for the none checkbox. And on the other hand, if the none box is checked, then they're all turned off, all the checkboxes, except for the none. And then for all of the other checkboxes, the all and the none are turned off, and the layer that corresponds to that checkbox is turned on. And if a checkbox is unchecked, and it's not the all or the none, then the all and the none checkboxes are turned off, and that particular layer is turned off. So our next our next function in the file is called Do the Thing. It's a reference to Legend of Korra, where America's always telling me, "Do the thing, Julie." And what it does is when the drop-down changes, it calls this function, and based on which layer is selected, it has these different cases where it will zoom to a set center and a set zoom level. So as you can see, there are different cases for each of the layers. We just typed them all out. We didn't create a loop for that. And these layers get plugged in from a function here, set zoom. And so do the thing of the layer, and this is called on our map page from the form with the drop down on change. When it changes, it calls the set zoom function. So returning to our JavaScript, these console logs were helpful when we were debugging, and we left them in because it's helpful to see what layer is being called if it's for some reason isn't showing up the way you think it should. So scrolling back up to return to our other functions, we have the next function is our initial function, which gets called when the map page loads. And to explain that is really
So as Elise said, here's our function that loads as soon as. So as Elise said, here's the function that is called as soon as the page is loaded. First, we have defined our projection. Next, we have added in all of our KML files into our map. As you can see, we've also given each of these KML files a new name. This new name is used to, in conjunction with the checkboxes. So these IDs are those new names that we've given these KML files. So once we get through all the KML files, a few of them, we get down to the creation of our map, which we've used in an open layers source map. We've defined our variables here, and we have put in our initial center coordinates and the zoom that we wish to have. Right here is how we wanted our checkboxes to be configured whenever the page initially opened, with all of them being true except for the no, so all the layers are visible. The next step in this function is our pop-up creation code, and this code right here is what allows those pop-ups that you've seen on the map whenever we click on each of the features. This first bit of text, this first bit of code kind of just defines the pop-up itself. This part of it displays a pop-up on click. So whenever you click that feature, this is what tells it to display the pop-up. And this is saying for how to determine where the feature is, it's calling for each pixel, for each feature at the pixel that you've clicked. And then this final bit returns the pop-up for the layer that you clicked on. Finally, this last little bit right here shows that the content that we want to display in the pop-up is the description tag in each of the KML files. And then we have the bit that shows to show or destroy the pop-up if you click elsewhere. And that concludes our code. Thank you guys for watching, and we hope that you've enjoyed our presentation and also enjoyed our map.